This is a spoiler warning. Ooh, click away or maybe save for later. Or stick around. Trainers, we're going to be reviewing every single card from the newest set of Pokemon Pockets, Pulsing Aura. Actually, not every single card. We're definitely going to skip the filler cards, but we're going to talk about the cards that I think are going to be extremely impactful. But before we even get started on that, I'm going to answer a question that I've been asked a lot. Is this set even worth it? And I personally, you might think I'm biased, I think this is a really strong set. The best set we've received since the last two sets. They were mini sets. They didn't feel as strong or impactful, but just looking into this set and how many cards there are and what these cards do, I feel they're very impactful to the overall gameplay quality, as well as the meta and just overall having fun in Pokemon Pocket again. So with that, let's talk about the first card that I think is the most insane and meta-changing card ever. And that's the new stadium card, Bounded Field. This thing is nuts, you guys. And let me explain why. I'll read it to you. When applying the opponent's active Pokemon's weakness to damage from attacks used by Pokemon in play, both yours and your opponent's, that aren't Mega Evolution Pokemon, so it doesn't affect Megas, you multiply it by 2 instead of just doing an additional 20 damage. Now, the reason I think this is the most impactful card is because let's take things like Hydreigon, Mega Absol, and Nihilego. It's been a very annoying card, right? It has a maximum HP of, what is it, 150? It's very annoying. Let's pretend it's still the most meta-relevant card. Well, now, with something like this, all you need is a Pokemon that has a base damage of at least 80, and you're one-shotting that Hydreigon. Enter an entire list of Pokemon that hit for 70 to 80, because if they damage themselves, that's all you really need. You have Beedrill EX that becomes relevant. You have non-EX Leafeon. You have Buzzwole, Decadui. There's even Sunflora here that can come in and hit for 140 on that Hydreigon. And that alone is the reason I think this is going to be the strongest, most meta-defining card, because whatever deck becomes the most oppressive deck on ladder, well, now you just have to build a slight counter to it and throw in a couple copies of these, and now that deck, especially if you go into it for matchmaking, just doesn't really stand a chance, especially if it's taking ×2 the amount of damage. Pokemon Pocket wasn't built for a card like this. The HP threshold here is not like the official standard TCG. So yeah, I just really wanted to hop on my soapbox real quick and talk about this card, because this card is insane, and it's for 70 pack points. So if you don't pull it, trade for it, or maybe even craft it, because I really think this card is insane. Oh, also, you throw this card in one of your solo mission decks to get hourglasses, and now you're just breezing through that easily in expert mode, just acquiring countless hourglasses. So yeah, this card itself, I think, is going to do wonders for the game, for all players involved. Now that we got that out of the way, let's scroll all the way back up into grass and start here. The first card I want to talk about is this Heracross, which has the move Powerful Friends 30+, to Colorless, which means you can actually pair this with the supporter card Berry and attack for free. If you have any stage 2 Pokemon on your bench, this attack does 50 more damage. So you could essentially cheese out 80 damage for 0 energy investment on this Pokemon as early as turn 2, because then you can maybe rare candy into a stage 2 and then just hit your opponent for 80. It's a pretty strong combo. I don't know how often that's gonna work out, and I don't know really what you would play this with. Maybe like Venusaur, maybe any stage 2 grass type would make sense, but then again, it's colorless, so you can fit this into any stage 2 deck. It doesn't have to just be grass type. So I think it's a really cool card. Next up is the card that actually got a crown rare this set, one of 2 crown rares. It's the Celebi with Time Recall in this economy. I know, it's crazy. Each of your evolved Pokemon can use any attack from its previous evolution. It's essentially Memory Light, but as a Pokemon, right? I just think that's so incredibly strong. Just like Teal Mask Ogerpon with the ability saying any of your Pokemon with energy doesn't take a status condition. This saying you can use any attacks from your pre-evolutions. Oh, it's going to be so incredibly good. And again, another colorless Pokemon, so you can fit this into any deck. I'm very excited for this. You don't Power Crept Memory Light, the tool card. No one's ever going to play that. And now you have Celebi. Well, actually, maybe some people will play that over Celebi. But yeah, no, this is a very, very cool card. I'm very excited to build around it. Next up is our Trico, our Grovyle, which I think is very interesting we should talk about because of the attack Slicing Snipe. It can snipe one of your opponent's bench Pokemon for 50. So if you're evolving into your Sceptile or a Mega Sceptile and you have that Celebi, well, now you can also snipe their Pokemon on their bench. That's why I think that card is so strong. We have Celebi here that flip a coin. If heads, this stack does 50 more damage. So for 2 energy, you can potentially hit up to 120 and it's at 140. However, come on now, everyone's going to be playing the Mega Sceptile EX, a max of 240 HP, and you're hitting your opponent for 140. It's the 130 plus the poison tick if you discard a grass energy, which I think it forces you discard a grass energy from this Pokemon. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned. Yeah, you can't not discard. There's no you may discard an option. So you have to discard, which isn't bad. This in a deck core that also runs Quick Grow Extract. On top of that with the Celebi, that's going to be so strong. In fact, stay tuned for another video that's going to drop a little bit later, right before the set release. It's going to have a spoiler alert warning again, but we're going to go over the 10 new EX Pokemon and a deck built around each of them. So I'm very excited to share that with you guys a bit later. Anyway, let's keep moving on. I haven't seen the Surskit. Discard a fire energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. I mean, that could be really good if the meta is very heavy into fire types. These are the kind of cards that I like. They're going to be good, maybe not now, but in the future, if everyone's playing a, VMAX Charizard because that's Pokemon's favorite Pokemon ever, they're going to have a version of that, then maybe the Surskit will be viable. Next up is a Shroomish that you can essentially put into a Sleep Core deck. I'm kind of hoping we get less Sleep Core, but it also evolves into Breloom that says if your opponent's active Pokemon is asleep, this attack deals 90 damage for only 1 grass energy. So it's kind of good. Maybe you play that with Hypno. But do we have to talk about this for the 10th time? I think this is going to be a fantastic card. What do you mean Prickly Powder? And your opponent has no ability until they retreat. That's fantastic. And then we have, let's see here, a new Durant. We have a few versions of Durants, and this says, if Durant is on your bench, this attack does 30 more damage, which I think is pretty good because it's only 1 energy. So if you have another Durant on your bench, you're hitting for 50, which is really good. Give me a sec. My dog's over here. Come here. Oh, you want to say hi? All right, guys, looks like I'm doing the review with my dog here. So let's keep going. So I think that's going to be all the grass types. Another new Pokemon is going to be Applin. Heal 30 damage from one of your bench Pokemon. Nothing too crazy. But then we have a Flapple here that says for 1 energy, you deal 40 damage. And during your opponent's next turn, attacks used by the defending Pokemon cost 1 more. So not too bad. Now we're going to enter the realm of fire types. And I think Mega Camerupt is disgusting. One of your opponent's Pokemon is chosen at random, do 160 damage to. You already know I'm going to love this card, right? Right, Cleo? You already know because this is fully Gamba. You can't choose what the target's going to be. It is fantastic. And then we have a non-EX variant that says flip 3 coins. For each heads, discard a fire energy from this Pokemon. This attack does 30 more damage for each energy discarded this way. Now, this is really cool because it's a flipping action with the brand new Victini that says once during your turn, after you flip any coins for an attack, one of your attacks for your fire type Pokemon, you may ignore those results and then begin flipping coins all over again. So if you get all tails, you can do it again. This could be really good with something like Moltres EX. And actually another card which we can talk about right here, the Darmanitan that says flip 2 coins. This attack does 40 damage for each heads. So if you get 2 tails, you can flip again and at least get maybe 1 heads. So that's really cool. And then of course the Emboar, which we already talked about in the trailer release. Flip a coin for each fire energy attached to this Pokemon. So you could have like 10 fire energies attached to this Pokemon. And this becomes what Celebi was, but even better if you really think about it. You don't discard anything. And if you get all tails, well, you can use your buddy here, Victini's ability to do it all over again, which is really good. And then the final fire type Pokemon I want to talk about is going to be Volcarona. This attack does 50 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon, which is really strong. You can just snipe anything, either the active spot. Oh my God, she's so cute. Or their bench. All right, now I'm going to try to zoom through this review so I can hang out with my doggo. We have a new Politoed line, which is all water energy. It's not too crazy. Flip 2 coins, this attack does 30 damage for each heads. And then this guy has the move Raid, which deals 50 damage. If this Pokemon evolved into Poliwhirl, it deals an additional 50 damage on the turn it evolves. So for 1 energy, you can hit for 100, which is really cool. And on top of that, you can pair this with the new supporter card, which I guess we can kind of go piggyback off of because it's very relevant to water type non-EXs. Put one of your water Pokemon in play, except any Pokemon EX into your hand. So there could be a strategy in a deck where you can be kind of cheeky and just keep playing that Raid Politoed over and over and over again, which I don't know, could be a thing. We'll find out in a couple weeks, maybe even a couple days. Depends on when I pull this Politoed. Then we have the Vaporeon, which I already kind of talked about it. I think it's pretty strong. I think you're only going to play this with Greninja EX because the retreat cost is 3, but otherwise it's literally Umbreon, but instead of being a Cyrus, it's a active Sabrina. And then, yeah, you're only really going to get value from something like Greninja EX that can switch it out for free because that 3 retreat cost is a lot. Next up is Quagsire. If this Pokemon has any fighting type energy, this attack does 60 more damage. It's all right. It's not crazy. Ooh, Cast Forms. I think I forgot about them. They all do something related to a stadium in play. So if a stadium in play, the Rainy form heals 20 damage from this Pokemon. The Snowy form, your opponent's active Pokemon is now asleep, so maybe Sleep Core right here. And then I skipped over the Sunny Day variant, right? The Sunny form says your opponent's active Pokemon is now burned. So that's something. I'm not sure if there's another one, but if there is, we'll get to it and we'll talk about it here in a sec. There's a Regice. In fact, there's 3 new Regis, and they're all super mid, you guys. I'm not gonna lie. This one might be the best one for the reason that you can maybe pair this up with the new Regigigas. But it says move 2 random energy from this Pokemon to one of your benched Pokemon, and you'll see why I think that's probably the only way you can play this. And then the other cards here, I think Inteleon and Drizzle are going to be very, very strong cards. We have the Sobble here, finds a friend, nothing too crazy. We have Drizzle, and they have the exact same ability, Swift Shot. Once during your turn, you may play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon. You may do 20 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. When you do this, it's like Greninja, but only for the active. You can then use that supporter card to bounce it back to your hand, and then on that same turn, play Sobble, so that way you can guarantee the following turn, you'll at least evolve back into Drizzle and do another 20. So you're getting passive 20s and 20s. It's literally a free Darkrai as long as your opponent doesn't red card your hand over and over again without wasting your energy, because this could be done from the bench. And then we also have Inteleon. The only difference is it does 30 damage. I don't know how much more valuable that is unless that's going to be the range where you knock out that active Pokemon. And it also attacks your opponent for 70 damage. So all in all, pretty solid. And then Rapid Strike Urshifu. I think both Urshifus are going to be so meta relevant, especially with that new stadium. So if you're weak to fighting or water, you're taking double damage. And now Urshifu has double typing. It's just double the coverage. So I definitely think you play that stadium with either Urshifus. And this thing, it's for 40 and it snipes the bench for 40. Let's talk about the other variants real quick because it's relevant right now. We have this one that has a Power Blast 110, which actually hits 220 if your opponent's weak and that bounded arena is in effect. And then you discard 1 Darkness Energy from this Pokemon. But that's all the water types. Let's move on into Lightning. We have a new Magnezone EX. Like, tell me Dina doesn't love Magneton and magnets. Like every set, I feel like it's just getting better and better and better. I think in all, you could run an Oricorio and Magnezone deck with at least 1 Magnezone EX, and it'll feel like the strongest thing ever. This is so incredibly good. 3 lightning energies, and you have your own Magneton that can ramp yourself. I just don't understand how it's not going to be a strong card. Next up is going to be Electrode. Flip 2 coins. This attack does 30 damage. 30 more damage for each heads. Nothing too crazy. We have a new Zekrom here that flip a coin. If tails, this Pokemon also does 30 damage to itself. That's, it's kind of mid, but the full art looks really cool. I told you, this thing is amazing. So like if you get it, I'm going to try to build a deck around it. I don't know if it's going to be good, but we're going to try it. And then you have a Toxtricity that's kind of like a Marshadow. It comes in and deals up to 100 damage if you lost the Pokemon the previous turn. 2 lightning energies. And then you have a Morpeko here that says if this Pokemon has no damage on it, this attack does 30 more damage. So it's good going second and your opponent hasn't attacked you, especially without a baby Pokemon, then you could potentially do 40 damage, but that's about it, really. And now we're going into the Psychic territory. We have a new Ralts and a Curlia. Their HPs are a little bit more. I think that's probably due to the new Gelate that we got. We have a Meowstic that I think is really interesting because with the Psychic Stadium, what's it called? Peculiar Plaza, say that 10 times fast. you can use this and then have it in the active spot. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, you may make your opponent's active Pokemon confused and then retreat it for free, right? And then go into something like the brand new Oricorio here, the Psychic type, that has Pester the Disney, and it'll deal 60 damage because your opponent's confused. I think that's really cool. And there's a lot of other Pokemon that deal with confusion. I think this one says if your opponent's active Pokemon is confused, this attack does 70 more damage. So that's another Pokemon you could synergize with, Hatterene, and the brand new Meowstic and its ability. And then we also have a Diancie here that has heal 20 damage from each of your psychic Pokemon, and it deals 50 damage with the move Diamond Storm. So those are pretty cool. And then on top of that, Bramogist right here, I think has a really neat ability. I don't think it's broken. I think certain Pokemon are going to get massive value out of this. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is on your bench, you may move 30 damage that your active Pokemon has on it to this Pokemon. So it's a way to kind of save mega Pokemon, I'd imagine. It's the best way to synergize. In fact, again, I told you guys later today, I'm going to be uploading a top 10 new decks for EXs. Let's just hop down to one of the new EX Pokemon that were revealed. We have Mega Audino that says heal 30 damage from each of your Pokemon. So now you could have 2 Bramoghasts on your bench, heal 60 off this guy, attack, and then fully heal them. So it's literally a free Lily every single turn if you combo with the double Bramogast. But now we're going to go into the full-on meat of this set, which is fighting types. We have a brand new Bonsly, which it has a full art. And I much rather the full art, if I'm being honest. During your opponent's next turn, attacks used by the defending Pokemon do minus 30 damage, which is pretty cool, but not as cool as the brand new Riolu that we've already seen that says it deals an extra 30 damage if your opponent's active Pokemon is an EX. Oh, do you want to get down? All right, let's go. I think she got sick of me. Next, we have Lucario here that has the move Close Combat that deals 90 damage. However, it's like, what's the move? The Pokemon Komo-o. During your opponent's next turn, this Pokemon takes plus 20 damage. I don't think you're ever really going to want to do that. So kind of mid, below mid. I mean, 90 damage for 2 energy is cool, but I don't know why you wouldn't just play Fighting Coach. It's immensely better than this Lucario. However, we have the new Mega Lucario EX. We've talked about that multiple times. This is a fantastic card. 3 energy, you're hitting your opponent for 140. And then there's so many cards that are beefing this up, like the Korrina and the Antiquity of Arena, or the Arena of Antiquity. That's what it's called. We have a 1 energy Poison Jab Toxicroak for 40 damage. That could be something. Maybe we run it with Nihilego. Probably not, but I think this is pretty cool. And then the new Gelate that I told you guys about, Earth and Sword, 70 plus damage. And then if there's a stadium in play, you're dealing an extra 70. So a non-EX that's hitting for 140. And if you have that bounded arena and your opponent's weak to fighting, you're hitting your opponent for 280, knocking every single Pokemon out in this game. This is what I'm talking about. You have that stadium, you go in with the Gelate, okay, it's Gallade, and you knock out your opponent with 280 damage with your Gallade that deals 70 plus 70 damage. It's crazy, times 2. The math in pocket is going to get pretty wild this set, that's for sure. We have Throw here that essentially does what Genetic Apex Pidgeot does, but as an attack, you hit for 70, and then they swap out, they get to choose, and then we have Throw here that says this attack's damage isn't affected by any effects your opponent's active Pokemon. Hey guys, just want to take a quick break from the video to thank you for always watching and supporting the channel. It means the world to me. But did you know that you can support the channel even more by becoming a member here on the channel for as little as $2.99? Yeah. By becoming a Team Crown Grunt, you're going to get exclusive access to our Discord server and the benefit of knowing that you're forever funding every future Pokemon Pocket video here on the channel. Because in this economy, it's been kind of rough. But beyond that, if you want to support even more, you can become a Team Crown admin and have your name up here in the corner. I had to look to make sure that was the corner I was pointing at. But beyond that, guys, I just wanted to say thank you for all the support. And even if you can't support monetarily, all the likes, the hypes, the comments are truly appreciated. So thanks again. With that, let's hop right back into the video. Next Pokemon I want to talk about is Crustle. Some people have been talking about saying this Pokemon's mid, not good. And I need you guys to correct yourselves. Put some respect on my buddy Crustle's name here. I got a few decks, and one of the first decks I'm going to try to play is going to be Crustle EX, because I think, especially with all the new fighting support, You guys are not respecting this guy. He's going to be amazing. I think as a stage 1, I think this is probably one of the stronger EX Pokemon that we received in this set. And I'm not rage baiting you guys. I genuinely think that. Speaking of support, look at this Meloetta. What are you guys talking about? Inspiring Dance, 30 damage. The next turn, attacks used by your fighting Pokemon do an additional 30. So put that in with the Antiquity Arena and then the Karina, right? A supporter card. That kind of rhymes. And then your Crustle comes in, you're hit, and then maybe a double fighting Coach Lucario. You're doing so much damage for only 2 energy with that Crustle. It's going to be a disgusting season for fighting types, that's for sure. Next up, we have Colossal here, which I love because it's Gamba, 3 energy, 90 damage. Flip a coin until you get tails. For each heads, discard the top card of your opponent's deck. Could you imagine a world where turn 1 you ramp baby Pokemon, you're going second, fighting energy, and then whatever energy else onto your little cold guy in the bench, and then turn 2 you retreat, you bring this guy up forward, rare candy right into him. Add your third and final fighting energy. Use the move Mountain Crush. Your opponent has 12 cards left. You flip 13 heads. GG's. It's never going to happen, but that's not going to stop me from trying and recording it for content. So I'm excited to try this guy out. And then next up, we have Sandaconda here that says Super Sand Attack, 70 damage during your opponent's next turn. If the defending Pokemon tries to use an attack, your opponent flips a coin. If tails, the attack doesn't happen. It's literally the non-EX Magnezone that again forces your opponent to flip. So I think this could be really good. The issue is the 3 energy attached to the Sandaconda requirement. We also got a new Zubat line. The first one, spin turn, switch with one of your benched. I think this guy does nothing, 2 colorless. However, this is also 2 colorless, and it says if this Pokemon moved from your bench to your active spot this turn, this attack does 60 damage. I think maybe this could have a spot, especially for 120 for a colorless, in a deck that also runs the brand new Bombardier. Check out my previous video of the top 10 cards that if you're competitive, you probably want to craft, trade, or pull. This is like definitely one of them, because it buffs every single darkness deck. As long as this Pokemon is on your bench, your active darkness Pokemon retreat cost is 1 less. So now things like your Mega Absol retreat for free. And it doesn't say it doesn't stack, right? I don't know if you're ever going to play 2 of them in a deck, but I still think that's pretty strong. Next up is Quillfish. Flip a coin until you get tails. This attack does 40 damage for each heads. That could be very strong for 2 energy. We have a Survivor here that says your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned. For 20, you definitely play this in a Nihilego deck, maybe even like a Ultra Beast deck with Guzzlord, right? And then we have the brand new Zorora that says Ascension, which I think is a really cool one because it says put a random card from your deck that evolves from this Pokemon onto this Pokemon and evolve it. Now you can use this with all of the older non-EX Zoroarks, or you can use the brand new Zoroark EX, which is power creep on Genetic Apex Pikachu to a certain extent, because for 1 energy, you can deal up to 90 damage, which I think is very strong. You throw in a training area, now it's 100 damage, right? And then you throw in something like a bench Darkrai, and now you're dealing up to 120 damage each turn for just 1 energy investment. What? What were we thinking? Also, this Pokemon has the coolest card in the entire set. Coolest rainbow card. This is my chase card. Stay tuned for the live stream later when the set drops, because we're going to be opening packs and hopefully we get this bad boy. Moving on, we have Dangerous Spores here that says flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned and paralyzed. We've never seen that combo before, so that's already kind of cracked. Next up, we have Mandibuzz that I just can't help but picture it being perfect for Greninja. This attack does 60 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon that has damage on it, right? For 1 energy, if your Greninja snipes something on the bench, that's 80 damage on the board. Not even on the bench, they're active, right? This thing hits anything. It doesn't say, it just says this attack does 60 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon that has damage on it, which is crazy. I imagine you get to choose. It doesn't say anything about random. And it doesn't say you're active, the opponent's active Pokemon. It just says one of your opponent's Pokemon that has damage on it. So this is in a deck with Cyrus, potentially Greninja, heck, maybe even the Spiritomb that damages everything. Every set they buff darkness Pokemon, you guys. I can't be the only one that thinks that. Like, look at this card, Malamar for 2 energy, right? Evolution Jammer, 40 damage during your opponent's next turn. They can't play any Pokemon from their hand to evolve their Pokemon. What? What are we talking about? Imagine a world where you're going first, but you have a baby Pokemon, okay? Which means you always get to evolve first. You ramp your Inkay on the bench with like a lightning energy with a Pichu. The following turn, you retreat, go into your Malamar, give it an energy, and now your opponent can never evolve. They can't rare candy. They can't stage 1. They are stuck with basics for the rest of the game. Now, depending on your matchup, it's just GG's. Your opponent will have to concede. But unless, you know, basic EXs continue to be a huge threat, then I don't think there's room for Malamar. Either way, I'm going to try it out. This is going to be fun. And then we have a Zorude. That's like Marshadow. If any of your darkness Pokemon were knocked out, there's a specific requirement here. It deals up to 120 damage for 2 darkness energies if they were knocked out the previous turn, which, you know, that's kind of cool. It's very niche, but yeah. Maybe you run this with the Zoroark EX because, again, you only need 1 energy in that deck. All right, now we're in metal territory. Like I told you, the Regis aren't that great during your opponent's next turn. This Pokemon takes minus 30 damage from attacks. This is probably like a better version of it. I think the reason I said they weren't that great is because I skipped over Regirock. This Pokemon also does 30 damage to itself. Yeah, no, thank you. I like the other Regirock. That's a permanent heavy helmet, if you will. Next up is this Bronzong that if there's any Psychic Pokemon in play, this attack does 50 more damage. So, I mean, it doesn't say from your opponent's side. So as long as you have Psychic Pokemon in play, you'll do 100 damage for only 2 energy. So I think that's always going to be valuable. We already know what this Bisharp does. It switches this Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. So that could be good with an Oricorio deck to counter things like your opponent's EXs. The next Pokemon we're going to talk about is this Magarnia. This attack does 20 more damage for each of your opponent's benched Pokemon. Now, I feel like this could be really good with things like a Mega Altaria matchup, because if they have a full bench, you're going to come in and you're going to hit for, what is that, 100 damage if they have a full bench because of the weakness of plus 20. Now, the only unfortunate part is you can't combo this with a Bounded Arena, or else it's a Mega Pokemon, or else that'd be fantastic. You would hit for so much damage. But I think Magarnia right here is potentially a direct counter for Mega Altaria. Next up, we have a new Melmetal that says Overdrive Smash. We know what this attack does for 3 metal energy. It's 60 and then plus 60 for every Overdrive Smash you do the following turns, as long as, you know, you don't get Sabrinaed. And then we have a new Corviknight EX, which I'm excited to play this deck as well. Discard a random energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. Now this is good card design. It doesn't say discard from yourself because that's garbage. And I'm talking to you, Mega Swampert. I'm sick of it, okay? So I think Corviknight EX is a really good card. And then another card that I think is really good is Flygon EX. You guys are not ready for this deck. Again, if I pull 2 Flygon EXs, this is going to be a day 1 deck that I showcase, because the strategy behind this is, oh, I can't wait. Yes, you discard the top card of your deck, but you're also dealing 140 damage, which is insane. Now you're probably like, oh, grass energy, fighting, duel. Don't worry, we got something for that. It's the ability Sand Slammer. During Pokemon Checkup, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, do 10 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. So this just makes it the best Cyrus like deck ever. Like Flygon is going to be so strong. The issue is that dual energy, and I think we found a way to overcome that. All right, now we're in colorless territory. We have Blissey here that says once during your turn, you may remove a random special condition from your active Pokemon, and it counters Oricorio with a 70 damaging move. So I think that's kind of good. We have this Regigigas, which is honestly kind of... Anyway, it has the move Giga Turbo, which deals 100 damage. Take a colorless energy from your energy zone and attach it to one of your benched Pokemon. So like you could ramp your bench Pokemon, but also Seal of Antiquity. If you don't have Regirock, Regice, and Registeel on your bench, this Pokemon can't attack. So it's like, I don't know, maybe you run this with an Ilima. That's probably the only way. You have it in the active, you take damage, and then you can like bounce it back and then potentially get something going with the Regice that further ramps your Regigigas. I don't know. I think what it's trying to do is act like the Lake Trio, Mesprit, Azelf, and the other guy, Yuxi. But they did it way better than whatever the Regis are trying to do. Next is this brand new Eevee that snipes. This attack does 10 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. I think this is one of the coolest Eevees ever, because it's actually making one of the strongest or weakest Evolution EXs incredibly stronger. And that's Umbreon EX. You can snipe turn 1 with this Eevee on their bench, maybe a Mega Pokemon, maybe something they're trying to build up, and then the following turn evolve into Umbreon EX, and then bring that Pokemon right into the active spot. So I think this Eevee is fantastic. Next up, we have a Watchog that deals 30 more damage for every Psych Up they've used. And then we also have a new Stoutland that deals an extra 70 damage if it's fighting an EX Pokemon. And the reason I want to talk about these guys first is because there's a new supporter card that says during your opponent's next turn, all of your Watchog and Stoutland take minus 100 damage from attacks from your opponent's EX Pokemon. And I'm going to build a deck around this, but I'm not going to use this Stoutland. I think you guys know exactly which Stoutland I'm going to use. The better one, that's for sure. We have an Audino here that says heal 10 damage from each of your Pokemon. We already talked about Mega Audino. We have a brand new Minccino that's, again, fits into Sleep Core decks. It's a 50 HP Pokemon too. I don't know if you want to play that. And then we have the Rookidee that plucks, discards all Pokemon tools from your opponent's active Pokemon. And the Corvus Squire, which jousts for 30 before doing damage. Again, discard all Pokemon tools from your opponent's active Pokemon. And that's all the Pokemon. We've already talked about Field Blower. It's a great utility card. I think you might be a must in many decks. It gets rid of stadiums, but it also gets rid of tools from either Pokemon, yours or your opponent's. This Lucky Egg, I'm not really sure how I'm going to play this. I really don't know. I think this could be really good. But the fact is, like, you only get value after you lose a Pokemon. So it's like, I don't know, do you actually want that value? And it's not saying that you're drawing 5 cards. It says draw cards until you have 5 cards in your hand. So if you only have 4 cards in your hand, you're only going to draw 1 card, which could be good. I don't know, but you get more value if you have 0 cards in your hand and then you lose a Pokemon, then you're drawing 5. Another new supporter that we didn't talk about is this Cabby. Put a random stadium card from your deck into your hand. Hello? Bounded Arena or Bounded Field. I keep calling it the wrong thing. This thing is going to be so cracked. And then Fragrant Forest, I think, is deceptively strong. Once during each turn, player's turn, that player may put a random basic grass Pokemon from their deck into their hand. Oh, grass types are just in such a good spot. I might try to bring back Superior and Celebi EX, especially with this Forest, this Stadium card. It's going to be so incredibly strong. What the heck? But yeah, there you guys have it. That's every single newish card that I wanted to talk about. Everything else is kind of mid. We got a bunch of new shinies. That's cool. None of them look really that great except for the Greninja EX and maybe the Mega Blaziken. And then here are our 2 Crown Rares. Well, there you guys have it. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, hype, and subscribe. Stay tuned for the next video that's going to upload. It's going to be the 10 decks for every single new EX Pokemon. It's going to be my day 1 deck ideas. Obviously, I need to pull the cards and craft them first in order to play those decks. But yeah, that's going to be a fun video. With that, guys, I'll catch you in the next one.